Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Interviews, where we interview up-and-coming filmmakers to discuss their films from idea to completion. On today's episode, we'll be interviewing Robert John Torres, writer and director of Writhing. I would like to welcome Robert John Torres to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Also here is my co-host, Mike Stan.
Hey. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
So the reason why we do this show is so we can discuss the process for future filmmakers out there to talk about what worked and what you would change for your next project, plus any advice you'd like to give to our listeners. So Robert, if you could just go ahead and discuss how you got into filmmaking, and any experience you have, whether it's educational or self-taught.
Well, I'm totally self-taught, complete autodidact, as they say. I've got no...
A natural.
Yes, something like that. At least that's what I try to make people think. I didn't go to film school, but I did go to drama school, so my background is that of an actor. And, you know, I moved to Los Angeles because that's what I thought that I wanted to do, but I was like 20 years old and had no idea who I was or, you know, what Robert was made out of, you know. So
but the sky was the limit.
I thought so, you know. But it was good, though, that I ended up doing that. You know, I think an education for an actor, like looking into the deepest parts of your soul and putting on different hats and stuff.
Right.
Really helps you kind of expand your sort of inner self. I don't know, maybe after a couple years, I was really kind of frustrated with, you know, the life of an actor in Los Angeles can be so unglamorous. I mean, I've had every sort of day job that you can possibly imagine. But what it did lead me to was working in film festivals first as a volunteer, like no pay pre-screener. And I started really falling in love with that. And now I work professionally as a programmer, and I work for various different festivals in LA and outside of LA, doing the work of a programmer. And for people who don't know, programmers are kind of like the gatekeepers of festivals. You know, if a film festival gets 1,000 submissions, 2,000, 3,000, it's your job to sit down and watch every single one of those films with your team, of course, and talk about sort of what is the value in this, why is this interesting, why should we give this work a platform. So that was a little film school in and of itself.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I totally, completely unexpected. I wasn't expecting that sort of education. And in doing that and seeing so many things that were amazing and transcendent, and then things that were like, shit, you know. Can I cuss on this?
Yeah, you totally. So you basically got a self-taught the do's and don'ts in filmmaking.
Yeah. Basically, literally like right in front of me. So that frequency was always kind of buzzing there, you know, but I never thought I was going to make a movie. Like, that was for rich people. That was for people who like had fancy educations, who were artists. And I don't know, I just never allowed myself to go there. But once I saw how many people were doing it, and there are a lot of filmmakers out there, I thought, well,
why not?
Yeah, you know, seriously, it takes a little bit of insanity, but I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, you have to be insane, but that's why you love it.
Exactly. Any artist, I think, is a little cuckoo.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about Writhing, and just if you want to give like a simple plot for it. And it's not, I mean, not that it's a simple movie or anything.
No.
It's a very important movie.
Yeah. I would definitely say, like, in terms of plot points, it is actually quite unadorned, you know. It's, you really just follow somebody in the 24 hours before they finally go through with a very long avoided HIV test. And that's something that, gay or straight, many people have gone through.
Right.
You know, we all know what it's like to be afraid to go to the doctor. Am I pregnant? Do I have cancer? Do I have HIV? So that very intense emotion, you know, that sort of all-consuming fear, anxiety, shame. It's debilitating, you know. so I thought, oh, I might want to make a film around this sort of subject, but I'm not somebody who is living with HIV. I'm not a member of the pause community, as they say. So it sort of felt like it was off limits to me. But I just kept coming back to it, like I feel this very strongly, and I know what that is. And, when I was going through a very similar situation as the main character, thinking that I had HIV, and I've had many friends who've been there, we all have, I wish I had something that I could watch, that I could see myself, my main character.
And then you're not alone
Yeah, exactly. Like my main character doesn't tell anybody for months, he just sort of sits on this secret that he's pretty certain that he's HIV positive and isn't ready to talk about that major life change. So once I finally said, okay, I'm going to do this, I ended up feeling okay with the fact that it doesn't feel like it's not my territory. I feel like I'm contributing to the community in my own way.
Right, definitely. Let's go ahead and play a small little clip from Writhing.
Babe. How? What happened?
I'm gonna find out tomorrow.
And it's just gonna be a quick little finger prick. What is it that you think you're most afraid of?
You're nice. I'm just, I'm scared.
Now talk about the title. How did you come up with Writhing?
So the movie has a little bit of like a dance element to it, I hate in movies when people just like sit down and like explicitly say what they're thinking or feeling. That's not how my life is. I'm very secretive and weird and filled with shame about so many things. So when I included this dance element, I sort of realized like, when there would be a traditional scene of a character sitting down and explaining their feelings about something, I thought I could just take that out and use this dancer
as a visual,
as literally like almost an external personification of the protagonist's interior life. And once I saw that, and once I saw that it worked, I thought, oh, okay, well, this is the movie, And so the idea, the word writhing is always a word that I've really loved. It's like very evocative, when I think of that word, I think of like writhing around in pain, like physical bodily contortions, but then also, you hear writhing in ecstasy and like erotica and like sexual release. So the sort of push-pull of that pain
double
and
entendre
pleasure, exactly, felt apt for a story that kind of circumnavigates HIV and that sort of shame around sex. So that's how I came up with the title, and it was called a million things before this, but I like Writhing.
How long did it take you to write the process, and then how long did it take you to actually film it and have it where it is today?
Well, this is my first thing that I've ever made.
Oh, wow.
So
congrats.
Thank you. A part of the process was just figuring out, can I write? How do I write? What is the process? Since I have no education in doing this, I had no practices or routines or anything. So that was the early part of this, was me really figuring out like, okay, well, how do I show up for myself every day and actually do this? To write really takes discipline to write well, I think. So to write the script, which is really only 15 pages, if that, took me about a year. Because I would go back and go back and go back and go back and go back because I wanted it to be perfect. Because I never made anything before, I knew that the actual artifact of the script had to be flawless. I knew that it had to be arresting and singular and just really grab people. So yeah, it took me probably over a year, like a year and a half. There's a really, really amazing book called I want to get this right, The War of Art.
Oh yeah, the War
The
of Art.
War of Art
Mm-hmm.
by Stephen Pressfield, who talks about, he's a writer and he talks about resistance and how so many writers have this thing, you know, whatever it is that stops them from showing up every day and doing the fucking work and, you know, sitting down with your laptop or your pen and paper or whatever. And reading that really helped me realize what my own resistance was. And I was able to just sort of sit down, shut up, make some coffee and bang it out. And now it's unlocked this whole other part of me where I'm realizing like, oh, maybe I am a writer. And once you give yourself permission to think those thoughts, it really just sort of set you free. And then for the filming of it, because I never made anything before, it was a whole process to find people who were willing to make this with me, to find people who were willing to go on this journey. So, I mean, that's something I can go on for hours and hours about, but it probably took another year and a half. So the whole process from conception to completion was about 3 years.
And you did not stop, which is important. That's
No. I was crazy and I thought that I was a genius. So I was just like being fueled up my own, you know, whatever.
Now, when you came up with the story, is it, you had just mentioned about how it's something that you have done before, that you did as well, like you put it off. Is that where you drew it from personal inspiration or from friends or stories you've seen?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you actually like sit down and search through like the larger film canon of HIV films, there's actually quite a bit of them. You know, this is something that's been in the world for over 30 years now, since the AIDS crisis. So there's a lot of films that deal with that paranoia. But what I was noticing is that all of them have a very kind of similar vibration, you know, like very mournful energy, very sobering, heavy, intense storylines, like sad color palettes. And, you know, even though if you were living today with HIV, it's a very complex burden to carry, you know, it's still very heavily stigmatized. It's not a death sentence as it used to be. And, you know, you can still, like any other illness that someone may have, can live a vibrant and, you know, multifaceted, sexual, beautiful life. So I really wanted the film to really come from a completely different angle than all the other HIV themed stories that were out there. So I wanted it to have like a very striking, like visual and colorful palette, and I wanted it to feel like lush and beautiful and elegant rather than depressing. Not to like mitigate anyone's experience, but part of the reason I felt really compelled to do this is, you know, I remember very vividly going in, and this is in the movie, going in to get tested, and the counselor who administered my test, I was really scared and I like got really emotional. I was like, I'm probably going to be positive and I don't know how to deal with this. And he said, you know, I'll literally never forget this. His name was Bill, and Bill was like, I've been living with HIV for 12 years. I was diagnosed when I was 20, and I'm 32 now, and you know, I see you have insurance, we'll get you on your meds. There, I see you live at the time in West Hollywood. There's groups, we'll get you in these groups. You know, if you don't know how to tell your family, I'll sit down and I'll help you write a script. Like he was so tender and really saw me, and I could just really feel like, I don't know if you're religious, the idea of God, or if you feel connected to like the universe or the cosmos, I could just really feel the kind of energy of the world around me there for me. And that's really what I wanted to capture, was the idea that, like, yes, this is scary and it is a life-changing thing to be diagnosed with HIV, to test positive for it, but you're okay, you know. So that's sort of what I felt like I had to do.
Talk about how you found your cast. Did you use any special like Actors Access, or did you know your cast beforehand?
I didn't know my cast.
Besides yourself. Though.
Right, yes, yeah. Well, I mean, for myself, I did not want to be in the movie since I never directed anything before. Actually, that's a lie. I had started out with writing this as a vehicle for myself to star in, but you know, as I was making the movie, I really felt like, oh, Robert, you might have something here, this feels strangely natural, in early like pre-production. So I decided, no, I'm not going to play this. Everett is the name of my main character. I'm not going to play Everett. And I wasn't even going to play the counselor at the end. But when we were auditioning people to play the counselor, the guy Bill that I was telling you about,
Right.
his name's Josh in my movie, all the actors tried to tap into kind of like a sadness or like an inner sorrow of this counselor living with HIV, which I understand, but I was just like, no, he's happy. He's in a good place, I ended up cutting these things, but he has whole scenes where he talks about he's just lost 15 pounds and he thinks his man is going to like propose to him soon.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted it to be like a positive portrait of someone living with HIV. So I ended up playing the part because just nobody was
reading it.
Yeah, I was feeling what I was trying to get across. But for everyone else, the female character is played by Elizabeth B. Bates, who's one of my producers, and I wrote the part for her before she was even a producer, like 3 years before we'd even started. And I just wanted somebody who could capture the kind of like vacuous, messy, I describe her
Party
as
girl,
like a good time gal. And she just like got it.
But like non-judgmental.
No. Yeah, like we all have those people in our lives, and we love them for that, for giving us that kind of freedom. Yeah. And because we shot in film, I needed actors who were fierce because we only had 1-2 takes tops because we only had a limited amount of the role. So I knew Elizabeth would be able to turn it out. I had confidence in myself since I wrote it.
Yeah, I saw that you shot on Kodak. Talk about. Also talk about the difference of how you shot your first film in film and not digital. But continue with the casting.
Okay, well, I'll just say my main actor, Reed Alvarado, who's living in China now, he came up in my, on Facebook they have that people you may know, where it recommends friends. He was there, and I thought, oh, that guy sort of looks right for Everett. I hope he's an actor, And I just clicked on him. And we had all these mutual friends, but I just didn't know who he was. And at the time, he was on a Disney show, playing some like little Disney high schooler, but he just had the right look. He was, very striking, very kind of mysterious, but like I could tell there was a lot of depth there. But I auditioned so many guys. I didn't do like a casting director, actors access, because I was an actor and all of my friends are actors. I just sent breakdowns to friends, sort of asking, hey, do you know anybody who might be this type? They need to be someone who can really act without a lot of dialogue and really kind of convey things through their body and their just an energy. And it was also really important for me to cast someone who was openly gay, just to give that opportunity.
Right,
I know what it's
totally.
like to be an actor and have to like walk into a room and have like a different energy, try to be. I hated doing that, So I wanted that, and yeah, I knew as soon as Reed started. I have the tape actually. I just rewatched it the other day, and he was just so just like beautiful and receptive, and you feel for this person, this poor kid, And I'm a Latino person, and it was important for me to find somebody else who's Mexican, to sort of add to that visibility. We see so many, it's in the conversation right now, so many stories about straight white men, and nobody wants to contribute to that.
or straight cis females taking over transgender parts.
Yes.
But we'll leave it at that.
Yes, exactly. No comment. And then, so the last part that I was super nervous about was this dancer in the film, which we call him the humanoid figure. This is someone who has no lines, who has to sort of physically
convey the whole story.
Yeah, in their body, and I'm not a dancer, I have no...
You're Latino, you could dance.
But I have no like facility. Really, what came up is I don't have the language for it. I didn't know how to talk about choreography or anything like that. So I would just say, no, here he's more try to channel like celestial energy, like God is coursing through you or something, and that proved to be a very helpful way to communicate.
Did you do a behind the scenes documentary? Because I would love to see that.
There's probably photos. But so this guy came in. I just posted in a bunch of like dance forums, Facebook groups, Instagram, and this is actually the first guy that I saw. His name's Keanu Uchida, and he's a Canadian dancer, and he was here on a visa. He's back in Canada now, and he was 20 when we made it. And he just got it. The very first audition that I have is the very first thing that I had these dancers do was just literally throw themselves on the floor. I played like crystal castles, and I just had them like contort their bodies just to see if they had any inhibition.
Right.
You know, just as if they were kind of possessed by something. And he just went for it. You know, no, he immediately took off his clothes and just was in his little dance belt and just did it. And it was just transcendent. It was like, oh, this is what it is. This is my movie. That was the moment that I knew that it was going to work. You know, this idea of using a dancer. And he was down. He was down to be totally painted red, and he's wearing a lot of like fetish wear in it, which, you know, could throw a lot of people off. He was a kid. He was 20 years old, but he was so game, man, and just he slayed it.
Nice. Now go ahead and talk about shooting in film, because a lot of people nowadays shoot in digital. So how was your first film that you did? Not ambitious at all to be in film.
Okay.
And not digital.
Yeah, for sure.
And how was the pressures of that, like single take to two takes?
I think it would be harder doing it now on a second film because I know what goes into the day-to-day, the scene by scene of making a film, but I was so blindly ambitious and just so riding off of my own, you know, high that I thought, oh, yeah, we can do this. You know, there's no problem. We only got 2 or 3 takes. That's not going to be an issue. And I think my confidence just made everybody else feel really confident. But I do have to give major props to my cinematographer, Marianne Williams, who,
Woo, woo.
I know, really a goddess. Hire her, everybody. She's amazing. I wanted to shoot film because when you push the film, the grain starts to come out. And you know, when you're watching a film that's especially grainy, it has like kind of like a vibrating sort of quality in the picture. That always looked to me like human cells. And I thought, oh, how cool is that for a film that's so concerned about what's happening to my body, what's inside of my body, what have I done to my body? I knew
you just continued the theme with
exactly.
Yeah, nice.
So when I was interviewing cinematographers, which I knew none at the time, you know, I was just like, I knew I want to shoot Super 16. Have you ever done that before? What does that entail? And everyone sort of thought I was a little crazy, but I was just very adamant about doing it. A really great thing was that so outside of myself, the first person that came onto the project was Marianne, my cinematographer, which is not normal. But again, I'd never made a film, so I thought, well, I need my DP. And I got really lucky because she had recently graduated from AFI, the American Film Institute. Yeah. So she was able to sort of suggest that she was a student or a recent student, I think was what she said, to sort of help us get discounts on film stock. And that ended up unlocking a whole other part of the film because I was able to get recent graduates who were willing to work maybe at a lower rate than what we normally would. Because, you know, they were fresh out of school, but they were from AFI, so they were primo, you know? So I got really, really lucky, and I felt like I had a sort of guardian angel over my film. But, I mean, truthfully, I don't know about shooting digital. I've never done it before. I love the way film looks. I love the color range, you know? Is
that the trend you want to keep for your next film?
Yeah, right now, the one that I'm working on is going to be in 35, but it'll continue to be film. It just looks so much better. It feels better. I love too when we were recording the sound, you could hear the of the film rolling through the can, and that seemed to really bother my sound guy, and I was like, no, that's a part of it, you know, it's a film, you know, it's not real. Obviously there's like a red naked man writhing around in the movie, you know, that sort of artificiality is okay. But yeah, the whole process of going, I thank you Photocam, thank you Kodak, you know, for everything that they gave to me. Everyone was very, very supportive in shooting film. I think they understood why it was important for the project.
That's awesome. Now, what's coming up next for Writhing?
So I'm going to world premiere it at Outfest. I'm super grateful for that platform. You know, when you make a film, especially something that's a little more strange or risky, you never know how it's going to be received. So I'm super grateful when I got the call that
It was entered.
Yeah, that they were offering me. Well, I entered it, and they had accepted basically, and I'm gonna get to world premiere there.
Now, for
soon.
listeners who are not familiar with Outfest, can you describe Outfest for them?
So Outfest is their own language, the preeminent LGBT film festival in the world. It is the oldest film festival in Los Angeles, and
it goes on for 10 days.
It's put on by HBO. It's almost borderline. It's strange to say for something queer, but mainstream. You know, it's a very big event.
It's the Sundance of the LGBT community.
Yeah. It's super exciting. So as you can imagine, when I got the call, I like wept. You know, it's like, what? Me, this project.
So many people can come see it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, people have reached out to me to talk about the project. It just really legitimizes the work. And I am super grateful that it's going to screen at the Directors Guild, you know, like.
Tell everyone at what time and where.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, I need to know this. It's July 16th, which is a Monday, in Los Angeles, 7 p.m. at the Directors Guild of America, Theater 1, which is the big theater.
Yeah. So if you're in Los Angeles, folks, make sure to make your way out to Outfest.
Yes.
And get your tickets now. They're on sale. So make sure for July 16th at the Directors Guild, get it for Writhing. Is there... any advice you give to future filmmakers who are like either in school or are self-taught, that they're learning and processing or writing at the moment, that you want to give to them?
Yeah, I would say, and this really comes from working in programming, since I see so many things. You know, there are a lot of filmmakers. I work in short programming specifically, so you know, an average year I see 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 shorts. And it is truly remarkable how many of them start to blend together after a while, how many of them are exploring the same themes and the same ideas, or they have the same inspirations. You know, there's so many filmmakers, young filmmakers, who like want to be Edgar Wright or want to be Sofia Coppola or want to be Denis Villeneuve, you know, and that's amazing. That's great. I have filmmakers that I'm inspired by, but I think you have to be careful about taking from other filmmakers. You know, I don't know who said this. Somebody smarter than me, said it's not about what you take, but it's about where you take it. And I think that's really the key, that you can be inspired by other works, but you have to sort of meet it halfway to your own, what you have to offer, you know, and synthesize those two. Because as a programmer or as someone who goes to buy a ticket at a movie theater, you know, you want to see something that you've never seen before, that's singular and, you know, personal. You know, that's what really touches somebody. So that's what I would say, is kind of really honestly take a good, long, ugly look at what it is that you are made out of and try to imbue your work with that. And then the other thing I would say that was like so beneficial to my project was working with people who were fresh out of really strong film schools, especially if you are low budget or don't really have a community like I didn't when I was first starting out. Going to those early graduates at film schools, you know, they're hungry, they want the good material and the good projects, and they'll be willing to work at a lower rate.
Now, you talked about your inspirations. Who are some of your inspirations, and what are some of your favorite movies?
I would say probably my favorite movie is The Tree of Life, which I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck? But I really love The Tree of Life. I love kind of like ethereal, otherworldly, you know, stuff like that. I'm looking at a poster for Get Out right now, and I really, really loved Get Out. It's probably my favorite film from last year. There are a lot of queer filmmakers I want to give a shout out to. I love Todd Haynes. He made Carol and Safe.
Oh, yeah.
Velvet Goldmine, really beautiful. There's a Thai filmmaker that I really love named, I don't want to mess his name up, Apichatpong Weerasethakul. And he made a movie called Uncle Boonmi Who Can Recall His Past Lives, which I really love. Watch it, it's super weird. I would say, yeah, those are people that I really respond to.
Very nice. Do you want to talk about any film festivals you're you're working on at the moment that you want to plug? Or
Oh, sure. I'm working right now for the Downtown Los Angeles Film Festival. I'm doing the shorts programming for them. The submissions are open. If you want to contact me, I'm Robert at dtlaff.com. I get 5 million emails a day, but you can go ahead and send me one too. I like watching stuff, it's a full-time job to sort of sit down and you have 40 hours a week of cinema to work your way through. And because I didn't go to film school, it's still an education for me. So I watch everything that people send me. So please feel free.
yeah, we look forward to hearing about your next project.
Thank you so
So
much.
congratulations.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Make sure to check us out. Do you have a website that you want to promote or anything? For?
No, but I am on all social media, Mr. Robert Torres. So Mr_Robert Torres with an S, not a Z.
So make sure to go follow him as well. Thank you so much. Make sure to follow us on social media, Movie Menu Podcast. Also visit our website at moviemenupodcast.com. Thank you so much. And until next time, we say goodbye.
Bye.